For centuries, the Stoics mastered a kind of silent power, one that speaks without shouting and commands attention without demanding it. In a world that never stops talking, where we're constantly told to stand out, to speak up, to be louder, just to be noticed, there's a forgotten strength quietly waiting to be reclaimed, the power of silence. It's easy to drown in the noise of modern life. Everyone seems to be shouting to prove their worth, to grab attention, to stay relevant. But centuries ago, the ancient Stoics discovered something different, something deeper. They understood that true power doesn't need to announce itself. Real strength lives in stillness. It radiates from within. It doesn't demand the spotlight. It draws it in effortlessly. Picture this. You walk into a room and without a word, eyes are drawn to you. Not because you're flashy, not because you're loud, but because you carry something rare, an unshakable presence, a calm, quiet confidence that speaks volumes without making a sound. This isn't just poetic language or the stuff of ancient legends. It's something you can embody here and now. This is what we call silent attraction, a magnetic presence rooted in depth, discipline, and timeless wisdom. And today, guided by the eternal truths of Stoicism, we're going to dive deep into how you can cultivate that kind of power for yourself. Because it's not just about making an entrance, it's about leaving an impression, one that lingers. Long after you've left the room, it's about becoming unforgettable, not by performing, but by simply being in alignment with who you are. So if you've ever felt invisible in a world that won't stop performing, if you've ever felt like your quiet nature was a weakness, this is your moment. Your silence can become your greatest strength. Together, we'll uncover the ancient techniques that make you effortlessly magnetic. You'll learn how to turn heads without trying, how to stand out without shouting, how to be deeply seen without ever needing to say much at all. And if this journey resonates with you, if you find value in exploring what it means to carry yourself with purpose and quiet strength, do me a small favor. Tap that subscribe button. It's completely free, but it helps us keep building this community of wisdom seekers. And remember this, if you've ever felt like you don't quite fit the mold, like you move differently from the rest, then trust me, this message was written for you. You're not the outlier. You're the exception the world has been waiting for. First, being yourself. How often do we shrink ourselves just to fit in? We water down our thoughts, hide our true interests, and bend our opinions just to avoid judgment, just to belong. It's something most of us have done, whether in a classroom, a workplace, or even among friends. But deep down, something in us resists this quiet erosion. And that's where Stoicism gently calls us back, to the power of our true selves. The ancient Stoics knew that the most magnetic trait a person can carry isn't charm or charisma, it's authenticity. When you live in truth, in full alignment with who you really are, there's a natural harmony that follows. And that harmony doesn't need to announce itself. It resonates. It draws people in without effort, like gravity. It sends out a silent signal that says, this is me, unfiltered, unapologetic, real. And believe me, in a world of masks and noise, that kind of quiet honesty is irresistible. But what does it really mean to be you? It means embracing your quirks instead of hiding them. It means owning your passions even when they aren't popular. It means holding fast to your values, especially when the crowd pulls in the opposite direction. It means finding comfort in your own skin, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. That kind of inner confidence isn't loud. It doesn't beg for approval. It simply is. And that's what makes it powerful. The Stoics valued four virtues above all: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These weren't just abstract ideas. They were daily practices. Living by these values grounds you in a sense of purpose. It gives you a moral compass. And when you walk through life guided by that compass, people notice, not because you're trying to impress them, but because there's something rare about a person who stands tall in their truth. And here's the beautiful part. The journey toward authenticity doesn't start with some grand gesture. It starts with quiet introspection. It starts by asking, what do I care about? What makes me feel alive? What principles do I refuse to compromise on? Take the time to reflect. Reconnect with your passions, your values, your boundaries. Then, one small step at a time, start expressing that truth to the world. Not perfectly, not all at once, just consistently, day after day. That's how alignment is built. That's how the real you begins to rise. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And in today's context, replace man with person, and the truth hits just as hard. Don't spend your life overthinking what it means to be attractive or likable. Be grounded. Be real. Live with virtue. Let your authentic self shine, bravely, humbly, fully. Because in a world that rewards conformity, your authenticity is not just rare, it's your superpower. It's what makes you unforgettable. It's what makes you silently, irresistibly attractive in the most profound way. Second, being fully present in a world racing at the speed of distraction, where eye contact is rare and attention spans are measured in seconds. The call to be present isn't just good advice, it's a radical act. A rebellion against the superficial, a quiet return to something sacred, and perhaps most surprisingly, it's a concept deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics taught that our power lies in mastering what we can control and releasing what we cannot. This isn't just about stoic calm in the face of adversity. It's about how we show up in our everyday relationships. It means being fully here, in this moment, without being pulled backward by regret or forward by anxiety. It means giving the person in front of us not just our time, but our whole attention, as if to say, "You matter. I'm right here, and I'm not rushing anywhere else." That kind of presence is rare, and because it's rare, it's magnetic. It can turn the most ordinary interaction into something unforgettable. But being present is more than just showing up physically. It's a conscious engagement of your whole self, your mind, your emotions, your energy. It's the difference between talking to someone who's checking their phone and talking to someone who's fully locked into the moment with you. One makes you feel tolerated. The other makes you feel seen. And in today's world, where everyone is multitasking their way through conversations, being fully present is one of the most attractive, powerful things you can offer. So how do we cultivate this kind of presence when everything around us fights for our attention? It begins with mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being aware of your breath, your thoughts, your emotions, and the people around you without judgment. It's about gently catching yourself when your mind starts to wander and bringing your focus back home to now. It's a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows with repetition. The Stoics didn't just value mindfulness, they lived it. They saw each moment as a gift, each interaction as an opportunity to live with intention. When you meet someone with that kind of awareness, you feel it. Their presence feels different, calm, grounded, open. And it's not just transformative for others. It changes you too, because to be fully present is also to be fully alive. But presence doesn't just require awareness, it requires vulnerability. To truly connect with someone, we must be willing to let go of the masks we wear. We must dare to be open, to be real. That means allowing ourselves to be seen and having the courage to truly see others, not as roles, not as noise, but as human beings with stories, fears, and hopes. This kind of openness might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's where real connection begins. When you show up like this, unguarded and fully engaged, something remarkable happens. Barriers fall, walls dissolve, and trust begins to take root. This is how meaningful relationships are built, not through perfect words or clever lines, but through the stillness of presence, through the soft courage of eye contact, through the willingness to simply sit with someone and be with them completely. In that moment, you're not just being polite or attentive, you're offering something sacred. You're creating space for someone else to breathe, to speak, to feel understood. And in doing so, you're also giving yourself a gift, the rare experience of deep connection in a world that so often settles for shallow. Third, magnetic manners. In an era ruled by speed and screens, where most conversations are cut short by scrolling thumbs and half-listening minds, genuine human connection can feel like a lost art. But there's something quietly powerful that bridges the gap, something that doesn't need to shout, perform, or demand attention. It's called grace, and it begins with manners. Now let's be clear, when we talk about manners that mesmerize, we're not just talking about pleasantries like please and thank you. Those are important, yes, but this goes far deeper. We're talking about the kind of presence, respect, and thoughtfulness that leaves people feeling seen, valued, and safe. And it just so happens that Stoic philosophy aligns perfectly with this kind of refined character. The Stoics believed in living with virtue, discipline, and empathy, not for praise, but as a way of honoring life and others. They understood that how we treat people, especially in small everyday moments, is a direct reflection of who we are. Manners, then, aren't just social decorum. They're a living expression of Stoic values in action. Think about this. What happens when you truly listen to someone, not while glancing at your phone or rehearsing your response, but with undivided attention? You send a message that says, this moment matters, you matter. And in a world starved for presence, that kind of attentiveness is unforgettable. It's a form of quiet respect, a way of saying without words, I honor your humanity. And that's magnetic. When kindness is infused with sincerity, when empathy is shown not in big speeches, but in small actions, a helping hand, a warm glance, a patient pause, it creates a ripple effect. People feel drawn to that kind of energy because it's real and rare, but it's not just about being nice, it's about being mindful. There's an art to navigating the subtleties of social interaction. The way you shake a hand, respond in conversation, or show consideration at a dinner table, these seemingly small things reveal your awareness, your discipline, and your character. This is where the Stoic teachings come alive, not on the battlefield of dramatic moments, but in the ordinary exchanges of everyday life. And make no mistake, choosing to engage with the world thoughtfully is not weakness. It's strength under control, it's power expressed through gentleness. Stoicism doesn't ask us to withdraw from society. It asks us to participate with purpose. And mastering the art of graceful manners is a testament to that purpose. It shows we care enough to act with intentionality, to honor the unspoken rules that make people feel respected, welcome, and safe. These small gestures, when practiced consistently, create something much larger than politeness. They build trust. They build presence. They build a kind of personal gravity that quietly draws others in. So if you want to be someone who moves through the world with influence, not noise, start here, master grace, and let your manners speak for you, softly, clearly, and powerfully. Fourth, the silent language of style, the way we present ourselves to the world, through our clothes, our posture, our aesthetic, says more than words ever could. Long before we speak, we're already telling a story, not with our voice, but with our presence. And in that quiet story, style plays a leading role. Stoicism doesn't ask us to reject fashion or appearances. It doesn't demand we strip ourselves of all material expression. Instead, it asks us to be intentional, to live with purpose, and that includes how we show up visually. The Stoics valued authenticity and simplicity, but simplicity in their view wasn't about restriction. It was about alignment. It meant clearing away the excess, the distractions, the trends that don't serve us, and instead focusing on what reflects our inner truth. Your style doesn't need to be minimal to be meaningful. It doesn't have to conform to any aesthetic to be powerful. What matters is that it's yours. When you choose clothing that resonates with who you are, something that echoes your values, your personality, your journey, you feel it. You stand differently. You walk with a little more certainty. Because when your outer self matches your inner self, there's a coherence that radiates confidence. Not a loud, boastful confidence, but a calm, steady presence that people notice. And style goes far beyond the fabric you wear. It's the way you wear your hair, the small details, the watch, the glasses, the necklace that subtly extend your identity. Each piece becomes a brushstroke in the evolving portrait of who you are. When curated with thought and integrity, your style becomes your signature, quietly powerful, unmistakably you. This is what Stoicism points us toward: conscious expression. It challenges us to ask, does this represent me? Does this support the person I'm becoming? Am I expressing or am I just impressing? These questions matter because your wardrobe is a reflection of your self-respect. And when it's shaped by intention rather than impulse, it becomes something deeper than fashion. It becomes a form of self-alignment. And here's the truth: your style will evolve. As you grow, change, and walk new paths, the way you present yourself will shift too. That's not just acceptable, it's necessary. But the key is this: remain rooted in your truth. Let your external self mirror your internal clarity, no matter how it changes. When you express who you are, rather than who the world tells you to be, people feel it. They're drawn to it. Because authenticity never goes out of style. So dress not to impress, but to express. Let your wardrobe be a reflection of your values, your growth, your story. And remember, when your style is aligned with your spirit, it doesn't need to shout. It already speaks loud and clear. And fifth, the power of body language. It's incredible how much we say without ever opening our mouths. The way we carry ourselves, our posture, our movements, the expression behind our eyes, it all speaks, and it speaks loudly. Body language is one of the most ancient, unspoken forms of human communication. It transcends culture, cuts through language barriers, and reveals truths we sometimes aren't even aware we're telling. And for the Stoics, this unspoken language was not just about performance, it was about alignment. Stoicism teaches us to master ourselves, not only in thought, but in how we exist in the world. That includes how we use our bodies. Every gesture, every movement, every silent interaction is a mirror reflecting what's happening within us. The Stoics didn't believe in manipulating body language to appear powerful. They believed in becoming powerful from the inside out and letting that inner strength naturally shape the way we moved. So when we talk about body language from a Stoic perspective, it's not about striking poses or rehearsing smiles. It's about congruence, ensuring your outer presence reflects your inner integrity. Take posture, for example. Standing tall with your shoulders back and your head held. High isn't just about looking confident. It's a physical act of self-respect. It communicates to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you carry dignity, that you are worthy of respect. That simple act of presence sends an undeniable signal. People notice, people feel it. But body language doesn't stop at posture. The tilt of your head, the warmth of your smile, the steadiness of your gaze. These subtleties matter more than we realize. A genuine smile can soften even the most guarded heart. A moment of sincere eye contact can forge a bond deeper than words. The Stoics understood this. Being present means being fully present, not just in mind, but in body. When your body language says, "I'm listening, I'm here, I care," you invite connection without even needing to speak. This kind of presence builds trust. It opens doors. And most importantly, it reflects a deeper truth, that you're aligned, that your actions, your emotions, and your intentions are in harmony. So, how do you cultivate this quiet magnetism? It starts with awareness. Begin by noticing your own patterns. Do you fidget when you're anxious? Avoid eye contact when you feel uncertain? Cross your arms when you're trying to protect yourself emotionally? These habits are often unconscious, but they speak volumes. Once you become aware, you can begin to shift, not through force, but through intention. Let your gestures come from a place of sincerity. Make space in your presence for others. Open your stance, uncross your arms, offer your attention generously. These aren't just behavioral tweaks, they're small acts of respect. They communicate clearly and without noise. You matter, I'm with you. And remember, Stoic wisdom isn't about hiding emotion, it's about mastering it, not suppressing what you feel, but choosing how you express it. That includes how you carry your body in the presence of others. Body language, when aligned with virtue, becomes a language of trust, of presence, of strength. So speak without words. Let your posture reflect your principles. Let your eyes express your attention. Let your presence be a refuge in a distracted world, because when your body and soul move in harmony, you don't just communicate, you connect. Sixth, the magnetic power of mystery. Sometimes the most captivating people aren't the ones who say the most, but the ones who leave something unsaid. In a world obsessed with sharing everything, our thoughts, our meals, our every passing moment, choosing to hold something back can feel radical. But it's in that space, in that quiet restraint, that mystery begins to form. And mystery, when born from intention and self-awareness, is magnetic. The ancient Stoics knew this well. They didn't wear their lives on their sleeves or seek validation through exposure. Instead, they lived with purpose. They spoke with care. They believed that not everything needed to be known or shown all at once. And in that restraint, they found power. Mystery, through a Stoic lens, isn't about secrecy. It's not about playing games or building walls. It's about discernment. It's the thoughtful choice of what to reveal and when. It's trusting that you don't have to offer everything up front to be understood, respected, or loved. Imagine a book that reveals its entire plot in the first few pages. The excitement fades, the intrigue dies, but a story that unfolds slowly page by page, revealing its layers with care, that story holds you captive. The same principle applies to people. When you carry yourself with just a touch of mystery, you create a quiet allure. You invite others to lean in, to ask, to wonder. You turn a conversation into discovery and an interaction into a chapter in an unfolding story. It's not about withholding, it's about depth. You're not hiding who you are. You're allowing it to emerge naturally over time. But how do we walk this fine line between being open and remaining mysterious? It begins, as always, with mindfulness. Be aware of why you're sharing. Is it because it feels right? Or are you trying to fill silence, to please, to prove your worth? In a culture of constant oversharing, choosing to pause, to share with purpose, is an act of self-respect. It's self-control, one of the highest Stoic virtues, and just as important as what you say, is what you choose not to say. There are pieces of your soul, your dreams, your wounds, your joys, that gain value when protected. Some thoughts are sacred, some memories too personal to toss into the crowd. Holding space for these isn't cold. It's reverent. It shows that you cherish your own inner world, that you don't give yourself away carelessly. Ironically, this restraint often makes your eventual openness even more meaningful. Because when you do share, it feels earned, offered, not extracted, given, not demanded. And here's the quiet secret. When you share less, you listen more. When you stop rushing to fill every gap with your own story, you create space to hear others. And in that space, connection deepens. A true exchange begins, one built on curiosity, not performance. It becomes a dance of vulnerability, one step at a time, a rhythm of respect. Mystery invites presence. Mystery encourages patience. Mystery creates intimacy, not through exposure, but through discovery. So don't be afraid to hold something back. Don't be in a rush to be fully understood in the first 5 minutes. Let people discover you the way one discovers a favorite book, slowly, deliberately, joyfully. Because when you live with intention, when you let your character unfold naturally rather than being spilled out for approval, you become unforgettable. Not because you revealed everything, but because you didn't need to. 7th, the signature scent of self. How fragrance becomes identity. It's almost magical, isn't it? How a single breath of scent, barely a whisper in the air, can pull you back to a forgotten moment, stir up an old emotion, or forever alter the way you remember someone. Fragrance has a language of its own, and though it makes no sound, it speaks directly to memory, emotion, and identity. Choosing a scent isn't just about picking a perfume or cologne. It's about selecting a signature, a silent statement of who you are, one that doesn't need to be explained, one that leaves an impression long after you've walked away. In the eyes of the Stoics, even this seemingly small decision, what scent you wear, is an opportunity to live with intention. It's not about following trends. It's not about spending the most money or choosing the most popular bottle on the shelf. It's about finding something that aligns with your nature, something that reflects your mood, your values, your presence, your essence. Just as Stoicism calls us to choose our words and actions with care, it also invites us to consider the unspoken messages we send, the invisible ones. And scent, when chosen mindfully, becomes one of the most personal forms of non-verbal communication. Your fragrance becomes a kind of olfactory fingerprint, a silent signal that says, "This is who I am." Without saying a word, you imprint a memory, but finding the right scent, your scent, requires more than impulse. It calls for self-awareness. Ask yourself, what emotion do I want to evoke? Do I want to radiate calm and dependability through something clean and fresh? Or do I want to be remembered as bold, adventurous, mysterious, through notes that are warm, spicy, or woody? It also takes understanding how a scent interacts with your natural body chemistry, how it lingers in the spaces you frequent, how it mirrors the message you want to leave behind. And like all things Stoic, balance matters. This isn't about overwhelming the room or dominating attention. It's about inviting closeness. A truly powerful scent doesn't scream. It whispers. It lingers. It invites others near and then stays in their memory long after you've gone. When your fragrance aligns with your personality and values, it becomes more than a cosmetic detail. It becomes part of your identity. Much like a well-chosen word or a principled act, it reflects who you are on a deeper level. And that's the Stoic way. Harmony between the outer and the inner. Even in something as subtle as scent, moderation too plays its role. The Stoics warned against excess in all forms, and fragrance is no different. Too much becomes noise, just enough becomes art. The right scent doesn't just blend into the background, it adds dimension to your presence. It helps people remember how they felt around you, and in that emotional memory, your character lives on. So choose your scent not to impress, but to express. Let it become a quiet extension of your presence, your virtue, your voice, because sometimes it's the things we can't see or hear that speak the loudest. Eighth, the strength of compassion. Connecting in a divided world, compassion isn't pity. It's not about feeling sorry for someone from a distance. It's about reaching across difference, across pain, across silence, and choosing to see, to feel, and to care. At its core, compassion is the bridge that links our hearts. It allows us to look beyond what separates us and recognize the profound truth that unites us all. We are human, fragile, resilient, flawed, beautiful, and in need of each other. And in the rich soil of Stoic philosophy, compassion is not just encouraged, it is essential. Though the Stoics are often misrepresented as emotionally detached, the truth is far more profound. Stoicism teaches us the importance of empathy, the value of community, and the sacred nature of our interconnectedness. It urges us to recognize that we are not islands. We are part of something larger, a shared human experience. And from that, awareness grows a deeper kind of responsibility to care. But compassion, true compassion, is not always comfortable. It asks something of us. It asks us to move beyond surface sympathy and into real presence, to offer more than words, to offer time, energy, attention, and presence. It's not about solving someone's problems. It's about saying, you don't have to face this alone. That kind of compassion, the kind that requires us to sit quietly with another's pain without flinching. is magnetic. It creates a warmth and depth in relationships that no superficial charm could ever replace. And yet, this kind of connection requires vulnerability. To show compassion, we must be willing to feel, to be moved, to let our hearts be touched by someone else's story, even when it mirrors our own fears, even when it makes us uncomfortable. And that vulnerability, so often feared, is actually one of our greatest strengths, because in those raw moments when we let our guard down to simply be human with someone else, something beautiful happens. We build trust. We break down walls. We connect, not through performance, but through presence. Compassion isn't weakness. It's an act of courage, and it's also an act of wisdom. When we open our hearts to others, we don't just help them carry their burdens. We expand our own capacity for understanding. We gain perspectives we would have never known. We enrich our emotional landscape. We grow. In a world that often feels cold, fragmented, and divided, compassion becomes a revolutionary force, a quiet rebellion against isolation, a reminder that we are not alone, that there's still softness in the world, still warmth, still room to care. And when we show genuine concern for the well-being of others, we lay the foundation for something lasting, something real, relationships that are rooted not in convenience or image, but in depth and mutual humanity. To practice compassion is to accept that sometimes your presence is the greatest gift you can give. That just being there, with your attention, your empathy, your quiet understanding, can be enough. So yes, it can be hard. It can feel heavy, but it's also life-changing, because when we choose compassion, we choose connection. And when we connect, we heal, not just others, but ourselves. That's the strength of compassion. That's the Stoic way of opening the heart without losing the soul. Ninth, the lightness within. Why Stoics still laugh? They say laughter is the best medicine. And while it may not cure the body, it has an undeniable way of healing something deeper. The atmosphere of a room, the tension in a moment, the weight in our hearts. There's a certain magic in laughter. It's contagious, disarming. It can soften walls that words can't reach. It turns strangers into companions and moments into memories. At first glance, laughter and stoicism might seem like unlikely companions. After all, stoicism is often misunderstood as cold or emotionally restrained. But the true Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they understood that joy is essential to a good life. They knew that part of wisdom is learning when to take life seriously and when to let go and laugh. Laughter is not a denial of hardship. It's a graceful response to it. It's a way of saying, yes, life is hard, but I still choose joy. It's resilience wrapped in a grin, courage dressed in comedy. In those moments of shared laughter, we find common ground. We remember that behind our differences, our roles, our opinions, we're all human. We all want to feel light, to feel free, even if just for a moment. Laughter doesn't require translation. It doesn't need permission. It connects us in a way few things can. It's Stoic mindfulness in motion, because in a moment of pure laughter, you're not trapped in the past or worried about the future. You're here, you're alive, and you're free. The Stoics taught us to focus only on what we can control. We cannot control every twist of fate, but we can choose to let joy in even when life feels heavy. Laughter then becomes an act of Stoic acceptance, a quiet rebellion against despair, a choice to meet chaos not just with endurance, but with lightness. And beyond being a personal refuge, laughter is a powerful connector. It breaks down barriers, dissolves awkwardness, and reminds us of our shared humanity. In those moments when we laugh together, really laugh, something sacred happens. We stop performing. We stop defending. We simply are. We become human again. Flawed, open, joyful, and real. So how do we cultivate more laughter in our lives? It begins with not taking ourselves too seriously. It's about being humble enough to laugh at our mistakes and wise enough to find humor in life's absurdity. It's allowing ourselves to enjoy moments of levity even when the world insists we be heavy. This isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything's fine. It's about creating space for both, for sorrow and joy, for seriousness and silliness, because both are part of the human experience, and both, the Stoics knew, can teach us something. So surround yourself with those who remind you how to laugh. Seek out the absurdity in your daily life. Watch something silly, dance badly, tell a ridiculous joke, laugh at yourself kindly, because in doing so, you're not being careless, you're being alive, and you're choosing to face the unpredictable nature of life with a light heart and an open spirit, and that, the Stoics would say, is not weakness, it's wisdom, it's strength, and it's something the world could use a little more of. 10th, widen your world. The Stoic path to cultural wisdom. Cultural wisdom isn't about memorizing maps or reciting flags and capitals. It's not about trivia. It's about something deeper, something richer. It's about understanding the soul of a people. It's about listening to the music of another language, feeling the heartbeat of another history, and appreciating the weight of traditions that weren't passed down to you, but could teach you everything if you let them. To cultivate cultural wisdom is to step beyond the borders of your own comfort and into the vast, vibrant mosaic of human experience. And it is, without question, a Stoic pursuit. The Stoics cherished knowledge, but not the kind you hoard, the kind you live. They believed in wisdom as a guiding virtue, a compass to steer the soul. And true wisdom, they knew, doesn't grow in isolation. It grows through openness, through looking outward with humility and inward with courage. When you explore other cultures, not just their practices but their stories, you're expanding your perception of the world and your place in it. You begin to see patterns in joy, in struggle, in ritual, in resilience. You realize that while our customs may differ, our hearts often beat to the same rhythm. In doing so, you break barriers, not just between nations, but between hearts. Imagine how enriched your conversations become when you can share a story from a land not your own, when you can greet someone in their native tongue, even if just a few words. It's a gesture of respect, of curiosity, of saying, I see you, I value where you come from. This isn't about becoming a globetrotter or speaking 10 languages. It's about cultivating curiosity and keeping your mind open enough to welcome the unfamiliar. It's about honoring diversity, not as a trendy concept, but as a lived truth. You don't have to cross oceans to grow in cultural wisdom. You can begin right where you are, with a book written by someone whose voice reflects another land, with a film that shows a life different from your own, with music, food, art that carries the spirit of another place into your own quiet world. Each choice you make to understand a different perspective is a small rebellion against ignorance, a powerful act of connection. And through this journey, something profound happens. you begin to see yourself more clearly too. Because stepping into another's story makes you reflect on your own, your assumptions, your blind spots, your inherited beliefs. That is the Stoic path to growth. Not just the accumulation of knowledge, but the transformation of the self through learning. Cultural wisdom isn't about being worldly. It's about being human. It's about nurturing the kind of empathy that sees beyond surface differences. It's about becoming a person who listens first, speaks second, and connects with intention. So take the first step. Watch that foreign film. Read that translated novel. Ask someone about their heritage, not out of politeness, but out of genuine interest. Every culture you encounter adds a new color to the canvas of your character, and the more colors you hold, the more fully you can engage with the world, not just as a visitor, but as a bridge, because wisdom doesn't build walls. It builds understanding. It builds unity. It builds peace. 11th, the discipline of care. Why valuing yourself is a Stoic. Act in a world that constantly demands more effort, more sacrifice, more productivity. It's easy to forget something essential. You are not a machine. You are a soul wrapped in skin, carrying dreams, burdens, and a quiet need for restoration. And in a society that glorifies burnout and calls it ambition, choosing to care for yourself isn't indulgent. It's revolutionary. Self-care isn't just about spa days, scented candles, or treating yourself to something sweet. While those things can bring comfort, true self-care, Stoic self-care, goes far deeper. It's about taking full responsibility for your well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The Stoics taught that self-mastery begins with self-awareness. And that means recognizing the boundaries between what we control and what we don't. Your energy, your body, your peace of mind, these are within your domain. And it is your duty to protect them. Caring for yourself in the Stoic sense isn't selfish, it's wise. Because only from a place of inner strength can you serve others. Only when your foundation is steady can you lift those around you. Marcus Aurelius didn't lead an empire by ignoring his need for rest, reflection, and clarity. He journaled, he meditated, he reflected on his values daily, because he knew tending to the self is not vanity, it's preparation. To eat well, to move your body, to sleep with intention, to say no when your soul whispers that it's had enough. These are not luxuries. These are acts of respect for your mind, your spirit, and the one life you've been given. And here's what's often forgotten: emotional and mental care matter just as much. Taking care of your inner world means slowing down to think. It means asking yourself, am I aligned with what I believe? Am I chasing something that nourishes me or depletes me? It's making space to breathe, to reflect, to journal, to walk, to sit in silence, to choose presence over distraction. Because when you do this, when you consistently care for your whole self, you don't just benefit you. You benefit everyone you interact with. You become more patient, more present, more resilient, more loving. You show up as someone who's grounded, not grasping. You become the calm in someone else's storm. And this is the heart of Stoic service, to care for the common good, beginning with the self. Self-care isn't selfish. It's what allows you to give your best, not your leftovers. So how do you begin? Start small. Eat food that strengthens, not just satisfies. Move your body with gratitude, not punishment. Set boundaries to protect your time, your focus, your peace. Say no when necessary, not out of guilt, but out of clarity. And carve out time to reflect, to remember what truly matters, to check in with your values, and realign where needed. Because when you care for yourself as if you matter, you begin to move through the world differently, with intention, with grace, and with the kind of quiet strength that needs no explanation. That's the discipline of care. That's the Stoic way of honoring the life you've been given, by keeping the soul within it strong. 12th, the quiet strength of independence. Standing alone, standing true, in a world that often confuses noise with strength and busyness with worth, the idea of independence still calls to something deep within us. We celebrate it, wear it. Like a badge, talk about it as freedom. But if you peel back the surface, true independence isn't about isolating yourself from the world. It's about something far more profound. It's about standing rooted in who you are, unshaken, unapologetic, unmoved by the shifting winds of public opinion or the noise of approval seeking. The Stoics understood this not as a luxury, but as a necessity. To be independent in the Stoic sense is to possess inner fortitude. It's the strength to make decisions that align with your deepest values, even when no one else agrees. It's about self-discipline, personal responsibility, and the unwavering belief that your peace of mind does not belong to anyone else. Not your critics, not your audience, not even your closest companions. True independence isn't a performance. It's a quiet knowing, a deep-rooted calm that says, I know who I am, I know what I believe, and I choose to live from that place, consistently. It's not about proving that you can do everything on your own. It's about choosing to live on your own terms, even when that path is harder, quieter, or less popular. This kind of independence is magnetic. It draws people in, not because you need them, but because you carry a self-contained energy. You radiate the rare confidence of someone who isn't waiting to be completed, someone who walks beside others, not behind them. And yet, Stoicism never teaches us to reject community. Quite the opposite. It teaches us to seek connection without dependence and to give support without losing ourselves. It's about finding harmony, being open to love, friendship, and collaboration without sacrificing your autonomy. Because independence isn't the absence of connection. It's the foundation for healthy connection. Only when you know how to stand on your own can you truly choose to stand with others, not out of need, but out of desire. That's what makes relationships more powerful, not less. But cultivating this level of independence takes work. It requires introspection, regularly asking yourself, am I living in alignment with my principles or just going along with what's expected? It demands the courage to say no when something doesn't serve your growth, even if it pleases the crowd. It asks you to trust your own voice above the chorus around you. And perhaps most importantly, it means learning how to be alone without being lonely, to find peace in your own presence, to enjoy your own company, not as a last resort, but as a rich and worthy experience. Because once you've built that kind of relationship with yourself, no one can take it away. That is the essence of true independence. Not separation, but sovereignty. Not ego, but integrity. And it's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply is. So walk your path, even if it whines, even if it's quiet, even if it's yours alone. Because in that silence, in that solitude, you'll find something unshakable. The freedom of being exactly who you are, on your own terms, for all the right reasons. Closing. Rise in your own silence. You've made it here, through silence, through style, through stillness, through self. You've explored how presence doesn't always need volume. how attraction doesn't always come from performance, and how greatness, the kind that lasts, begins in the unseen spaces, your values, your intention, your inner world. Now imagine a life where your peace doesn't depend on applause, where your confidence doesn't need permission, where your path isn't paved by popularity but by principle. That life is possible, it's stoic, it's powerful, and it's yours to claim. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to chase to be valued. You only need to return quietly, intentionally to yourself. Because when you choose stillness over noise, purpose over pressure, and authenticity over approval, you don't just walk alone, you lead. So step forward, not to impress, not to conform, but to live fully, freely, and fiercely in alignment with the person you were always meant to be. This is your quiet revolution. This is your strength, and the world will hear it, even in your silence.